Hi creators, welcome back to another episode of the podcast. I'm Laura, and I just got back from spending time in the woods. Zero cell service. And as soon as I came back, I was like, okay, y'all need to touch some grass, like immediately. So I am recording this after being offline for a few days. I was in the Tetons, backpacking, Yellowstone, Wyoming, Montana, pretty much all that area. And coming back to work has been a lot, and I know it would be. It always is. It always is a lot. And today I kind of want to talk about why stepping away is so good for your content creator business and obviously your mental health. But I also want to kind of share candidly about like what I'm experiencing coming back from being away for like 10, 11, 12 days and then just like jumping back into work, because it's not as easy as it sounds. So the past couple of days I've been hiking with no phone, no Wi-Fi, just trees and trails and actual humans. And then I come back and I actually have been quite good about like not scrolling so much online, which is fantastic because, to be honest, we're way too busy to be scrolling anyway. But I come back online and the first things I see are somebody's outfit of the day from their hotel lobby, and then a 47-slide carousel about 10 ways to optimize your morning routine for maximum productivity. Gag me, freaking gross. And then I see somebody having a full meltdown about how their engagement has been down. And I'm just like, I think we've forgotten the whole point. You know that like trend that was going around a little while ago that was like, oh my gosh, we forgot the whole plot, or we forgot like this is the whole point or whatever. That is how I feel, because I'm like, oh my God, guys, actually, I don't really care that much about the scrolling thing, because that's like not the most important part, and that's like not really helpful to anybody. And it made me think, like, have we lost the plot? Did we forget that there's a whole world outside of our phones, outside of content creation? And it's so obvious, all of that. It becomes so obvious when you step away for just even a few days and you come back and you realize how completely detached from reality being online can make us. We're obsessing over things that don't matter, and we're kind of missing everything that actually does matter. And it took like being away for me to realize that like the stuff on our phones is so minute in the scale of what we really want to be doing and what you really want to be doing, which is traveling and exploring and not necessarily giving a shit about somebody's outfit of the day. But I'm not going to lie, coming back to work has been difficult. So the only decisions I've had to make the past couple of days is how many s'mores I want to eat, and if we should go and buy more chocolate for the s'mores. And then I come back to like, just, you know what it's like, insanity. And it also makes me have a deeper respect for my digital nomads out there. I have been one of you for a long time. I'm now trying to just go out and enjoy nature and work when I am in a place to work. And that's part of what a community I'm building, which if you've been listening to the podcast, you know I am creating a systems-based membership for travel creators because it needs to be boring. We need the boring systems to build your sustainable businesses, but more on that later. Anyway, I'm come back and now all of a sudden, instead of caring about s'mores, I have to care about emails and I have to care about scheduling and I have to care about everything else. And it feels so like small. Like, I'm not gonna lie, it's a little bit hard to be like, oh my gosh, I need to be obsessed with this email I just got right now when I was just obsessed with like looking at these fairy tale mountains, you know? It's so difficult. But I have learned that this isn't a feeling we necessarily need to like solve or like get over. Are you kidding me? Sorry, there's a massive truck outside. This like, it's all like cute and fun living in a city, but then like when you need to do anything, it's really annoying. I'm gonna have to sit in a closet. Anyway, this feeling, like I said, is not really a problem to solve. It's more just information for us to use and observe. And I wanted to share with you a few reasons why your business needs to touch some grass. So if you haven't noticed by now, your best ideas never come when you're sitting in front of your computer or when you're scrolling. They come from having actual experiences, meeting people, getting out, exploring. That's when our best ideas happen. Another reason you need to go outside and touch some fucking grass is because your audience can tell when you're burnt out. When your content comes from a place of being burnt out, everybody can tell. But when your content comes from like real things you're excited about, we can tell that as well. Nature also resets our priorities naturally. So I'm not asking you to like turn off all your shit and run into the woods, even though that would be like really epic. But just like an hour or two of like closing the computer, turning off the phone and moving the phone into a location you can't see it, like out of sight, out of mind is a real thing. I'm sure you have realized this as well. And then coming back later when you're actually excited to work is amazing. Side note here, I have found that when I don't feel like working, and by that I mean it can be really hard for me sometimes to like sit down and like do a task and I'm like, oh, like kind of all over the place and it's just taking forever. I just have noticed that when I stop doing that, when I just like stop doing the task, I'm like, okay, this is taking so much longer. And I know that in a more focused headspace, I could just get this thing done and be over it. I stop and I come back when I do have that headspace because my body and my mind is telling me, okay, you need to stop forcing yourself to do the work right now because it's not going to be very good. And you can go and do it later, faster, and better when your mind is ready. So that's been awesome for me. I would encourage you to try that as well. But like I was saying, nature helps us reset our priorities. So it's really freaking hard to stress about your analytics when you're watching the sunset over a mountain. It all just seems so very like insignificant. And to be honest, it is, especially if you are on this corner of the internet often. But it's hard to care about those minute things when you are looking at something so beautiful or out and about doing what you really love to do. But it feels like a much bigger thing to care about when you are in front of your phone or computer or your analytics. So you might be thinking, oh my gosh, Laura, but if I'm not posting consistently, if I go outside and I'm not posting all the time, my engagement will tank. And my response is amazing. Let it happen. Let it freaking happen. Because you know it's worse than low engagement. It's having nothing interesting to say because you didn't do anything interesting. Because you get your interesting ideas when you are not in front of your computer posting all the time. And I said this in an episode recently, but if your business cannot survive while you take a few days off, then you don't have a business, you just own a job, which is so interesting. I kind of blew my mind when I heard that piece of advice. So let's say you heeded my advice and you went outside and now you're coming back and you're like, all right, I'm ready to get to work. So here are some things to help you kind of get over that re-entry into civilization hump because it's tough. You're first just going to need to accept that it's going to be weird. It's going to be weird. Coming back to work after being in nature is jarring because it is jarring. So don't try and like suppress that. Just like acknowledge that it's there. Let it happen. Rest. Sleep in. You also need to start small. So as soon as you sit down at your desk or your computer or whatever, you're going to have like a million ideas come back into your head of like, oh my gosh, I need to follow up with this person, or I need to send this, or I need to look this up, or I need to whatever. This is when I grab my notebook and I just let it all jot down. I don't add it as a to-do list. I just add it as like a brain dump. I just let all the ideas come throughout the day. And I start really small with just a few things. So like, okay, tackling my inbox feels like the most obvious and easily attainable thing to do since I've been gone. So I'm going to start there because that's probably where the most pressing things are anyway. And then once I get into my inbox, I'll be able to see like, okay, like what needs to happen now? Was there anything in my inbox that became next priority? So I don't try to jump in fully back 100%. I answer some emails, I do my most important things, and I ease back into it. It takes me a long time to ease back into this, like, a couple of days at least. It's also super helpful to try and bring that outside energy inside. So by that, I mean, when you were out hiking or whatever, your phone was probably like not in your hand all the time. So trying to keep your phone away from your hands when you're working is great so that you don't just like fall back into your bad scrolling habits or whatever, but just can like do the work and then be done. Another great thing to do, and I'm actually doing right now, is to use this perspective shift that you have had from being outside as content. So this feeling I'm having right now of feeling like a little bit in a rut or like overwhelmed of all the crap I have to do and what it's been like to come back makes me feel like, is all of this all seems so trivial, you know? And if you experience that as well, or just have any like takeaways from your time outside, fantastic content, because everybody needs to hear it, just like I'm telling you to go touch grass right now. Your audience needs to hear the same. And the next thing you're going to want to do is plan your next escape. Like I said, doesn't have to be adventuring into the woods every single weekend or whatever, but it could just be turning your phone off for an hour to brainstorm or read or walk or do whatever you want to do, because you'll be so much more incentivized to plan your next time off as soon as you come back from a trip, because you know how amazing it's feeling. Like, it's feeling so awesome to have that. Right now it feels so good because you've just gone away. You know how beneficial it is to go away. So as you get back into your work and deep into it, you're going to be thinking, oh my gosh, I should never take time off. It takes so much time for me to prepare to take time off, whatever. And you're going to be less likely to schedule those breaks after you get back deep into your work. So it's important to schedule that time now while you are still close to have coming back and like you understand how awesome it was to go away. So when I was offline, it obviously brings back up the idea that most of the stuff, if not all of it, that we stress about online doesn't actually matter to anyone. And your audience doesn't need more content. They need better content, and better content comes from creators who are actually living their lives and not just being performative about it online. But also that better content comes from creators who build sustainable businesses. And those are the creators who remember that social media is a tool, not a lifestyle. So I need you to go outside. I need you to touch some grass, and I need you to have some experiences that have nothing to do with content for a while, because your business will be better for it and your content will be better for it. And probably your mental health too, probably your mental health. So this systems, content building, community I have been loosely talking about in this episode, I actually have chatted about in the past few episodes, and I did kind of like a behind the scenes episode of what I've been building, but let me catch you up in case you haven't heard. Okay, so I am creating for travel creators a systems-based community. And by that, I mean, I am going to teach you the systems you should implement or need to implement in order to have a content creator business that works while you don't. Because we need to talk about the really boring stuff of businesses, the systems, because the boring systems are the only way you are going to be able to fuck off into the woods, for lack of a better term, often, with your business still running. And so where I'm at in that process right now is building the systems to then teach you how I've built systems. By that, I'm like writing out all of the systems I want to teach you, and then taking it a step further and being like, okay, what's the most efficient way for somebody to learn this system? So it's not like a membership where once a month you get a new system to implement, because that is called being overwhelmed by content in memberships or communities. Maybe you've experienced this yourself. And that is actually the number one reason why people leave communities and memberships, because it is too overwhelming, and owning a business is overwhelming enough, and we don't need more of that. So instead, this is going to be a community where you come, you log in, and you have access to a library of systems you can instantly learn how to implement and make work for your business. So you don't feel like you're constantly playing catch up, trying to build the systems that I released like a month ago or whatever. Like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be building new systems for you every month, because we don't need that. The boringest, best systems we can set once and then tweak them along the way. We don't need to be constantly changing, even though iteration is great, but we just need to get started. So the aim is to create systems that work while you're offline, and strategies that don't require you to constantly be hustling. So if this sounds interesting to you, I would love for you to send me a DM at Travel Content Writing on Instagram and let me know if you would like to be one of the first to hear when this goes live, because I have a few special offers for those folks, and a few of you have already said, yes, please, I would like to get in on that. So if that is you as well, Instagram is where you can find me. But I will leave you today, now. I will leave you now. And really, I just want you to remember that you should be kind to yourself when you come back into your office. And remember that your business needs you to have a life. Okay? So go touch some fucking grass. All right? Your content and your sanity and me will thank you later. Happy creating. Don't work too hard. I'll see you next week.